Spend some time outside 103 St. Catherine, across the street from Engelhard Elementary School, and it's not hard to figure out what's going on. A steady stream of people, day and night, as many as 20 per hour, walking in, spending a couple of minutes inside, and then leaving. Sometimes they scatter fast. Sometimes there's a line to get in. Money is often out when they go in, wads of money, up to $100 bills. They emerge with hands in their pockets, or they pull out and check what they just got in a small wrapped package, or place it in their mouth, a common tactic in case they're confronted by police. I record transactions right outside the house too. A panhandler on the corner walks over and forks over some cash to a guy on the steps who hands him back something from the palm of his hand. What are they buying? It's hard to say, but this guy unwraps and pops the orange cap on a syringe. Then one of the guys from 103 St. Catherine gives him what appears to be a small, wrapped, light-colored packet with another one visible in his other hand. He spends some time preparing the syringe, then disappears between homes with it. When they leave, we shoot what they left behind.
There's needles in the alley, on the property. There's needles everywhere.
One of the neighbors, constantly cleaning up what they're leaving behind, asked us to alter her voice and hide her identity because she's afraid of retaliation.
Well, I think the business is booming because you see needles everywhere. You see cars double parked. You see all these people in front. They came across the street. They were under my neighbor's stairwell shooting dope.
She says she has complained to every authority she can think of while counting 11 drug overdoses in front of 103 St. Catherine since July. The first day I start watching, this person walks into the residence, 10 minutes later comes out, and goes to the ground, occasionally twitching or flopping around. The stream of people entering and leaving 103 St. Catherine continues, sometimes pausing to look. The apparent overdose now lying out in the roadway, backing up traffic during evening rush hour. After 15 minutes of this, Louisville police arrive, but nothing happens. When the person is eventually able to get back inside the residence, the officers leave. And a few minutes later, there's another line of people waiting to get in. I try to talk to one of the people coming and going from here. What are all the people coming and going from here doing?
You have to ask all them people.
Is this like a drug house?
No.
No? We've got video of people coming and going from here. What's that?
It's just frustrating because I can sit there and watch someone pull up and someone walk out and do the handoff of drugs and money over and over and over, and I may be there for this amount of time.
This is a longtime Old Louisville resident who has owned properties in the area, silhouetted as well, fearing retaliation. He says he has complained multiple times to New Directions, the nonprofit that owns 103 St. Catherine and other buildings next to his properties.
Usually it's met with resistance. They are very hesitant to talk to anyone.
New Directions talk to me. They say they're just as disturbed about this as the neighbors. They say the trafficking here is so obvious, they've even tried to sell drugs to the New Directions workers who have visited the place.
We did go to court and we got an eviction order.
They got an eviction order way back in November, but it was appealed, and New Directions attorney says the pandemic has made it easier to prolong evictions.
Instead of having it heard right away, it's set for some time down the road. And COVID obviously has hurt everyone's opportunity to be heard in court. Eviction court's one of the most.
A New Directions officer wonders why police haven't taken action on something so obvious. I see them at the residence a couple of times.
In the past 6 months, we have received approximately 17 calls for service to this address.
The assistant chief tells me they're handcuffed by the mass defection of 200 officers over the past 2 years. That's 15% of the force, leaving them thin on investigating these kinds of cases.
We used to have impact platoons in all of the divisions, but unfortunately those officers assigned to those impact platoons who would typically deal with a complaint, they had to go back to riding the street because obviously we have to be able to answer and make all of our calls for service.
He says another challenge is, even if they make a bust, the court system will turn them loose in 4 to 6 hours anyway.
I think the police felt it's contained in this little building. Let's, ignore it and hopefully it won't spread and our job will be a little easier.
While I was right outside, hidden in a surveillance vehicle, recording up to 20 people an hour, walking into 103 St. Catherine with wads of cash, walking out with small wrapped packages, or filling a syringe and injecting heroin right there, this man was one of the customers.
I injected, a normal amount that I would normally inject, and it took me out immediately, and then I did it, and died, basically.
He was one of the 11 overdoses there in 5 months. In fact, he OD'd on back-to-back days. The second one should have killed him.
They had to do CPR and put tubes down my throat and everything to get me back. Narcan didn't work, so I was in the hospital for 6 days.
He asked us to conceal his identity and alter his voice because he says he would be killed for what he's telling us.
We have one apartment where there's a lady that sells heroin, fentanyl, and meth, and there's people there using, it's kind of like a little flop house. And then another apartment there is what they call plug, is the guy that supplies the heroin. And the people there, if they'll take anything. So if you have $10, $15, if you have guns, if you have food stamps, if people go and they boost and steal and bring stuff there to trade.
He says the Atlanta supplier is often inside, and after being in operation here for over a year, doesn't have much fear.
They're armed and they're ready. They have contingency plans in place. So, and if they do get locked up, they're going to be able to make bail, believe me. They make thousands and thousands of dollars a day there. I mean, if you've seen 20 people in 1 hour, that's 1 hour. And if I can go there and buy a gram to an ounce, that's a lot of drugs. So the rabbit hole's deep, That's not like a small fish in a big pond, you know what I mean? It's a big fish.
I saw police at the place a couple times, but I see only one arrest in that area over the past 6 months on LMPD Crime Tracker for a vehicle break-in. This is what the assistant chief said at the time of my first report.
If we stop someone leaving a place with narcotics, generally we can arrest them, we can cite them, but if we do arrest them, they're out within a matter of 4 to 6 hours. And then when you start looking into the actual people selling the drugs, the drug dealers, generally, and this isn't all cases, but generally we have to arrest these folks numerous times before they get any prison time or there's any consequences.
Where there's hundreds and hundreds of cars that go by every day. The police go by there every day. They know what's going on there. So it's like, how is this happening?
The man I interviewed is in rehab right now. He said the other heroin hotspot in town isn't far away, just down the street here at Ormsby and Floyd. So I spent some time right here, secretly watching and recording. Again, up to 20 people an hour coming and going from 312 Ormsby. Cash out, hand-to-hand transactions out front, cars pull up all day, and exchanges are made through the windows. Sometimes it's so busy, they fan out and serve 2 cars at a time. Here, the guy on the right digs into his pocket and serves a drive-through customer out in the middle of the street, while the person on the left takes a hit of something in a glass tube from the other car. Same street where cops drive by, and on the rare occasion when someone isn't home, the customers pile up out front waiting.
It's easier to buy heroin than it is for me to go buy cigarettes at Thornton's at First and Broadway.
A neighbor tells me he has seen everything here from 20 people at a time dealing and doing drugs to a woman dead in the doorway. He doesn't mention the syringes and orange caps littering the ground around the house. While the drive-through lane at 312 Ormsby was staying busy daily, all the drivers passing by above on I-65 got introduced to the house on April 15th when it went up in smoke and flames. Suddenly, a different kind of crowd out front, 50 firefighters, unknowingly trying in vain to save a place that one of its former customers says was burning a hole of misery into the souls of the addicted and plenty of other people too.
The crime goes way deeper in the pain and suffering rather than service level, the things that people are doing to go there and give him money for the drugs, so you got people selling their bodies, doing things to their family, stealing from the community, breaking in places, robbing people. Heroin is one of the only drugs that you will kill for that I know of.
One thing did not get scorched in the fire, the makeshift homicide memorial a few feet away, marking the spot where a man was shot to death months earlier.